Kind of fast, kind of not. Either way, always running or talking about it. Welcome to the Kind of Fast podcast, powered by Upward Running. Let's get into it.
Hello, and welcome back to the Kind of Fast podcast, powered by Upward Running. Fun fact, this is our second episode ever. And if you're new, welcome. And if you're coming back from last week, hello again. I am joined once again today by Travis Vaughn.
Hey, happy to be here and happy to be on our second podcast. Hopefully people like the first one. If you didn't listen to it already, you need to, so you can learn a little bit about who Claire is and what she's all about and what we're trying to do here. But I think episode 2, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. As a reminder for some of those who might not know, we are part of the Upward Running team, where we help people cross finish lines that they might not have ever crossed without the help of our training plans, our Run Club app, and our coaches.
Yep. So whether you're chasing a marathon PR or just lacing up for your first mile, we're here to talk all things running, training, faith, with a little bit of fun and laughter along the way, I'm sure.
Yeah, that is the goal. So let's go down with what we have prepared today. I'm putting Travis in the hot seat since he did that to me last week. Cannot wait for this moment. So we're going to get to know him and his story. We're also going to talk about an article from Runner's World about toxic positivity. And I am so impressed I said that correctly the very first try. It's a hard word.
It is a hard combination of
It
words
is.
for sure. And 100% chance you will mess it up by the end of this, and I'll mess it up even more for sure.
Yep. 100%. But before we hit the ground running, oh yeah, we're going to show a viral video too. But before we hit the ground running, and that was a well-intended pun, don't make fun of me, I will make that again. We want to take just a quick second to make sure we're not leaving anybody behind.
Yep. Whether you're brand new to running or you've been doing this a while, you've probably heard people throw out certain terms in the running world. And so we're going to take a segment like this each week, and we'll talk about what some of those terms might mean. And as we kind of go along, we'll get a little bit more technical in future episodes.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
So that brings us to our new mini segment. I need a drum roll. What does that even mean? That's the name of our segment. So we're going to break down a simple running term. However, this week we are going to break down a few different running terms.
Yep. We're walking through common race distances here. So you'll be hearing us toss around things and just trying to figure out what those exactly mean. Like, for instance, a 10K or an ultra and other terms like that. That's what we're going to talk about.
All right. So I will start us off with the 1 mile fun run. So that is pretty much exactly what it is. It is a 1 mile fun run. Typically, this is a great event for families, for children to start. It's usually untimed, which means no one is clocking you to see how fast you run a mile, hence the name fun run. So it is a literal 1 mile fun run.
Yep. Many times you'll see a 5K as your main option, and then they'll have a kids fun run that's generally a mile. Sometimes that can be for adults too. Sometimes, rarely, but sometimes there's a 1 mile actual race event, and that is the feature race. Those are not fun. Those hurt quite a bit. Imagine sprinting off of the line and then trying to hold on to that speed for 5 to 8 to 10 to 12, then it's whatever your mile pace might be. Those not necessarily fun, but what you'll see more commonly, as you described, is it listed as a fun run, and that coincides with some other race distance, whatever the feature race is for that event.
All right. What's our next distance?
The next distance is a 5K. So a 5K is 3.1 miles, K meaning kilometers, if you are super new to this. That is the most common race distance in the U.S. I looked up a stat, and you don't know this, but let's see how you'll do. What percentage of all races in the U.S. are 5Ks?
87.
50.
Oh.
So
Wow.
I expected you to go high, but not that high. But so 50% of all races that you could sign up for in the U.S. roughly are 5K distance.
Okay.
It's a good entry level race distance if you're looking to complete your first one, but it can be a grueling race as well. to complete a 5K kind of in an all out fashion. For me, the two distances that speak the most to me are the 5K and the marathon. I definitely know what a great 5K is for me. I definitely know what a great marathon, we'll get to that here in a minute, is for me. Some of the other ones I have a hard time computing whether that's good or bad, or if I achieved what I wanted to in that race. But 5K, love the 5K, always have.
Right. And that brings us to our next race distance, the 10K. Now, do you know why the 5K and the 10K are in kilometers and then the other distances are not in kilometers?
Well, I would say that the half marathon and marathon are also in kilometers, but we can debate that here in a minute. But tell me what you're going to say.
All right, a 10K is 6.2 miles. This used to be my favorite race distance. It's a little bit longer than the 5K, so it's essentially double the 5K. And it's not my favorite anymore because I just raced one for the first time and I was holding on for dear life after mile 4.
It's a tough one. Like if you're really going after a hard, good race time, that kind of thing, it's difficult. I'll give you an example. In college, as a men's runner, you run an 8K most of the season during cross country season. 8K, almost exactly 5 miles. So everybody just considers that a 5 mile race. But the last race of the year would be at your regionals. This is what you would do to qualify for nationals. You would run a 10K. It's 1.2 miles longer than what you've been racing all year long. I like to equate it to if in the NFL, you played on a 100-yard field all year long. And then when you got to the playoffs, you had to play on a 120-yard field. Suddenly, out of nowhere, that's what it feels like. And my college coach that I had back in the day used to say, we'd say, what's the plan for the 10K? He'd say, run your 8K and then hang on. So, boy, 10K I have loathed since those days back in college. It hurts for me. And so not my favorite distance, but a very common one. 7% of all finishers of races in the U.S. Come in a 10K distance.
Wow. And that's really not a high number either. 7%
right. Yep.
is kind of small.
That's because it's a tough race.
What's our next distance?
It is the 10 miler.
Ooh.
So now we get back to the U.S. based way of doing distance, and so we go by miles. It is even less commonly used than say the 5K, 10K, and the other distances that we have here listed. But it is a really good race, and I think it's growing in popularity in recent years. It's very easy to figure out what your mile pace is on it because it's by miles, and we always run as far as what is our mile pace. And so, if you're a 7-minute per mile runner, how long would that take you to run a 10 mile?
I don't math, Travis. Get the calculator
70
out.
minutes.
I
It's
really could have done that.
Really easy math on that one. So anyway, it's a growing distance. Some more professionals are starting to do the 10 mile and paying attention to that more often. But the 10 miler is a good one in between, say, the 10K and our next distance, which is the half marathon. Tell us about that.
The half marathon, 13.1 miles. So this is a great milestone after you've done the 5K, the 10K. Now, generally, I don't want to say everyone, but generally people go from the 10K to the half marathon. So
correct.
Yeah.
In fact, I've never run a 10 miler.
I've not raced a 10 miler.
Right.
Yeah.
So half marathon is, I think it's a great distance. It's one of those that you're not going all out off of the starting line, but you're trying to find what that line is that you can hang on, and you got to hang on for a while. And so it's a grueling race if done correctly. For a lot of people, it's just a great achievement to be able to say that I've run 13 miles or 13.1 to be exact in a race distance. And the truth is, if you can figure out how to do a half marathon for the first time, the next distance is just going to be eating away at you until you do it. And so that last distance there is the marathon. I'll note the half marathon, 11% of all U.S. finishers finish a half marathon. So remember, 7% for the 10K, 11% for the half marathon. So more popular than the 10K.
That is fascinating. Probably because 10K is, I would say that a 10K in my mind is harder than the half marathon from a racing perspective.
I'm going to agree with you.
So would the other percentage. Also, you came prepared today with all your percentages.
I bring things to the table here too. All right, so the last distance is the marathon, 26.2 miles. There is a reason it's 26.2 miles. It goes all the way back to Greece. We won't get into that today. That's probably a good subject for another one. Or I've heard
Okay.
Dean talk about it on the Upward Running podcast, which is
Okay.
our other podcast that Dean and Mitchell do in the past. But there's two different ways they got to 26.2. The original Greek marathon that the original runner ran that distance, and then London Olympics changed it a little bit more to get us to 26.2 that we have
Wow.
today. 3% of all finishers of races in the US finished a marathon. So
Wow.
much lower number there. I've heard the term less than 1% of all people on earth will ever complete a single marathon. So it's an elite company. And if you're a part of that, or if you strive to be a part of that, that's something to be really proud of, to complete a marathon.
I agree. Now, Travis, you said that that was our last distance, and it is not. We have one more, and it's technically my turn to go over the ultra marathon distance. But Travis actually has a really hot take on the ultra marathon. So why don't you tell us about the ultra marathon?
All right. I might hold on my hot take here.
Oh,
Well,
man.
let me just break it down real quick for you. So, an ultra marathon is anything longer than a marathon. It's not defined exactly as to what that distance is. So, if someone tells you they're an ultra marathoner, that's a bit of a vague term. That can be from crazy to like super crazy. So, let's talk about what the most common ultra distances are. There's four of them. There is the 50K. So the 50K, 31.1 miles. Remember, our marathon, 26.2 is 42K, technically. That's why it is a kilometer based
Ah.
but at 50K, you're at 31.1 miles. That's the most common ultra marathon there. The next one would take it back to the US distance of 50 miles. That'd be the next ultra that we would talk about. Then you go back to kilometers, 100 kilometers or 62.2 miles would be the next race of an ultra. And then finally, the 100-mile race would be the other ones. They do go further than that. I've seen 200 milers and beyond as far as ultra marathons go. And then they have others that are less structured. You hear about a backyard um, ultra, which many times will have a shortish course, maybe 2 to 5 miles, something like that. And you run that over and over and over until you can't anymore, and you count up how many miles you did. And that would be considered an ultra because almost always it's going to be over a marathon distance. So that's what ultra marathoning is. Again, anything over the distance of a marathon. I'm going to hold on my hot take here. And the reason
Okay.
is can't have the people who are listening to this, their first impression be some crazy running take on me. So maybe we'll talk about that one later.
Okay, you're not getting out of it. I'm not letting him off the hook, but that is a great segue to get to know more about you, Travis. So, we're going to break it down from the very beginning. So, when did you first start running?
I was a sophomore in high school. And so if you'll hang with me, it takes a second to tell the story, but it's a good one. And I think that the story is about a coach that saw something in me when I did not, more so than it's about me. That's how I like to tell the story anyway. So my freshman year of high school, I played football. I tried real hard at it. I lifted a lot. I practiced a lot. I was not great. I was good. I was on the team. I made catches, those type of things. I played receiver on the team. But that's what I was, a football player. And so in the spring, that's in the fall, in the spring, I ran track. And my version of running track was sitting out on the jumper's mat, talking to my friends and girls, and then running the 100 and 200 every week in the race and finishing next to last, I think, in every race. And only next to last because I could beat one of my teammates, not anyone else from another school. That was my running of my freshman year. So my sophomore year, I play football and I go out for track. The whole reason I'm going out for track is so there is a perception to the coaches on the football team that I'm trying to get faster for football and be better. But I'm not really. The whole preseason, I'm sitting out on the jumper's mat, talking to my friends, and I'm planning to run the 100 and 200. And I'm going to keep the perception alive that I'm trying to get better for football, but I'm not really doing that at all. And we are on the bus from my high school to another high school. It's only about a 15, 20-minute ride. And we're on the way on the first track race of the year, and one of the assistant coaches calls me to the front of the bus, and he says, "Hey, I was watching you at practice yesterday, and I actually think you're going to be a better distance runner than sprinter. So I've signed you up for the 2 mile. It's going to be the first race of the day, and I just need you to get out and get warmed up and give it a go." And I'm like, I have never run 2 miles in my life, not once. I'd never
Oh my
completed the
gosh.
distance of 2 miles. There's no way I'm going to do it. He goes, "Yeah, you are. Just give it a chance. You only have to try it once. Just give it a chance." And we go back and forth about how I'm not doing it. And he says, I am doing it. And so eventually he says, "All right, if you're not going to do it, you can go tell the head football coach that you've quit the track team and you don't care about getting faster for football. And that's just how it'll be this spring." And I go, "Fine, I'll do it." And so I went out and I told my dad, "Hey, these crazy people have me running the 2 mile. Can you believe it?" And he's like, "I cannot believe it. You've never run 2 miles in your life. What are you thinking?" So it's just a 2 team race. I go out there, I run. I actually finished second place in the race. I can remember my time. I
Wow.
ran 11:47 for 2 miles, and the first time I had ever completed 2 miles. The distance coach went on to be a South Carolina Hall of Fame coach, Rick Zeller, at my high school. The guy who finished first that day became a great friend of mine, but he was the state champion in the 2 mile that year. And they both took me under their wing. I loved being good at something. It was the first time I think in my life I'd ever really been good at something. And so by the end of that year, I ran 10:19 in the 2 mile in the next 2.5 months or so, and was totally hooked on this running thing. A junior year of high school, I did the double that I've never heard anybody else do, which was play football in the fall and run cross country at the same time. And so I'd play football games on Friday night and go to an invitational race on Saturday morning and run cross country. But that was kind of my last step into football, and I became a full-time runner from there. So that's how I got into the running thing.
You could really attribute your getting into distance running from your coach.
It changed my life forever. If I think back to the single moments in my life where things changed, that's other than me giving my life to Christ as a young person as well. That's got to be right up there with it, with as far as most influential moments. I would not have gone to college. I don't think my parents wanted me to go to college, but I don't think I was on the path to go to college when all this happened. But by the end of my junior year, I was getting calls from colleges, and I got to go run college cross country and track eventually. And so it changed my life forever. And again, that coach saw something in me that I didn't see in myself and could have never imagined. And so very grateful for that moment.
That's amazing. So you've pretty much been running your entire life because you just said that you ran out of high school and then you went to college. Tell us a little bit more about your collegiate running experience.
Had a good time in college. I ran at a school called USC Upstate in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and ran 4 years of cross country and track there. I was a good, not great runner. I was always somewhere between the second and fourth runner on the team, say in cross country, and tried hard, ran hard, was in great shape, ran a lot of miles, largely had a injury-free 4 years of college. And I don't remember anything majorly noteworthy. We had some great teams as far as the Division II level at the time. The USC Upstate is now a Division I school, but at the time Division II. And we had one of the better teams in, say, the Southeast, but nothing on a national scale. So it was a great experience, thoroughly enjoyed it, and helped pay for my college, which I will be eternally grateful.
Yes, definitely. So after college, did you keep running or did you stop running?
Immediately gave up. And
Immediately.
just really burnt out by the end of it. College athletics, and you ran in college as well, although I don't know that our experiences were exactly the same based on some of the things you've told me, but um, I it becomes somewhat job-like in time. And so I think some of the joy of it had gone for me, and I had lost maybe some of my purpose there. It was about running as much and fast as I could, but it was all about the racing. It wasn't about the day-to-day grind of it and the enjoyment of the running itself. And so once that was over, I gave it up for a solid decade. I didn't run here and there. for 10 years after that.
Wow, I didn't realize that you had such a long break.
Mhm.
So why'd you start again?
So, I know some people don't want to talk about weight. Let's just be real here because I'm always going to try to be real here. When I finished college, I weighed somewhere between 140 and 145 pounds as a college runner at 6 foot tall, skin and bones, right? By that 10-year break being over, I hit 230 on the scale. And so when I saw the 230 number, I was like, all right, I got to get back in shape and figure this thing out. And so I signed up on a whim for the Savannah Rock and Roll Marathon in 2013, lost about 30 pounds in that process, and was able to do that race. But that was really just as a single race. Again, I didn't fall in love with the sport at that time. I set a goal, I achieved that goal, which was to lose weight, complete my first marathon, was able to accomplish that, but gave it up largely for another 5 years from 2013 to 2018. But it was in 2018 when I signed up for the New York City Marathon and started training for that really all the other benefits of running and the lifestyle of running really has become who I am today. See myself as a runner as part of who I am, part of my personality, and now part of what is important to me. I always say I think people need to have something in their life that they're concentrating on that has nothing to do with their family, their work, or their faith.
Mm.
And for me, that's running. I absolutely love it. And so I get great mental clarity. I think about work or things going on in my life during these runs. I like the grind of day-to-day running. It keeps my weight down, as we were talking about previously. So all that really started in 2018 and continues to today.
Okay, so we have to talk about the other side of the story, and that is an injury. And
Mm.
if anybody has a punch card to a physical therapist, it is Travis Bond. So tell
Mhm.
us about some of your injuries. You've had like what, 72?
I've had a bunch, and not for lack of trying to avoid them.
Mm.
They just seem to stack up for me, and so it's been a struggle for sure. So the first major one I had in high school, my senior cross country season, I tore the hip flexor tendon off of the hip bone and completely ruptured it. The x-rays showed flakes of white all through the hip area. That was told my dad it was parts of the bone that had come off with the rupture of the tendon. And so that was traumatic. Passed out a couple times that day just dealing with it, like right there at the finish line. And then at the hospital, I remember going down hard and grabbing that things as I went
Oh my
down
gosh.
that day when I was being diagnosed with that. So that was a major one. But beyond that, in the last few years, I have had calf tears. This year, I've had a stress fracture, and there's been I had a root meniscus tear 2 years ago that had to be surgically put back together. But that's that's an unfortunate part of my story, but it is certainly been part of it the last few years.
You keep coming back though. What makes you keep coming back over and over and over after each injury?
There's pause there when each happens, and you have to ask yourself, is it worth it?
Mm.
Should I continue to push? For me, I've got this goal of running a Boston qualifying marathon, and until I get that, I don't know how to not continue to come back and strive for it. Once I get it, if I get one of these major injuries, we'll see. But right now, it's still really important. And I'm just trying to get better. I'm just trying to be a better version of myself, a better runner than I am previously. I'm always trying to learn about new running tactics and
Mm.
new injury prevention things. I've picked up lifting more and more in the last 2 years as an injury prevention measure. So I'm I don't know any other way. It's just, all right, what can I do today to get better when I've had these injuries? What can I do to kind of win today is the mentality I've had in the past when I've had one of these injuries, and how can I be better, having gone through this?
Is that where the running journal name came from?
Exactly. That's where it comes from.
Oh, I love it. So, for those of you who may not know, for Upward Running, we have a store. There's a Win Today journal that was Travis's idea. And I guess that's where the name came from.
Yep. So it kind of takes a yearly, quarterly, weekly look at your plans and kind of how to document your running journey. And all along, you can't meet your goals way out in the future unless you do all the steps between now and that goal. And so, how can I win today so that I get my ultimate goal in the future? That's the idea behind it.
I love that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Cool. Good story. Okay, it's time for rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you a few different questions and you have to rapid fire answer. You ready to start?
Let's do it.
Okay, long run or speed workout?
Both have their place, but speed workout.
Because you're kind of fast.
Let's get out there and see what we got. That's what I say.
Roads or trails?
Roads is more simple for me. I try to train at a time that doesn't impact my family. I have a daughter and a wife, and so it's much easier to do that in the dark on the road than on a trail.
Yeah, I bet. Then you don't have to worry about falling as easy as well. Okay, solo miles or group runs?
For me, it's got to be solo. I love a group run, but that's just not convenient enough with the family structure, I would say, today.
I get that. All right, racing in the heat or racing in the cold?
Cold for sure. You can always layer up, and when you get moving, you're going to warm up. But a race in the heat can really slow you down because your body can only do so much in the heat. So give me the cold all day.
Okay, this one, I cannot wait to hear your answer. New PR or being injury free?
I saw this on the plan for, and this is an amazing question, and I struggle with the answer, but I think I would take the PR over the injury-free year. And I think that's evident in some of my races that I've done while injured, still getting PRs and things like that. I think I want to strive to see what I can achieve, and that new PR is more alluring to me.
I totally get that. Negative splits or all out from the gun?
Even splits, can I say that? That's what's probably my best option. I'm not good at changing paces late in a race, so I'm probably going to try to run even splits. Negative splits, very appealing. I would love to be able to do that, but if you're making me pick one of those, I'll say negative splits, but I have a hard time doing it.
All right, now this wasn't on the list, but I have to ask, you need to share your hot take now.
Yeah. Let me caveat it. All right.
Okay.
So this take is for the 95% of ultramarathoners out there. It is not for professionals. It is not for those that are trying to win races and things like that. But my hot take is ultramarathons is what you do when you're too scared to take on the race distances below that, meaning marathon, half marathon, 5K, 10K. When you're too scared to really push yourself to new heights, new PRs, things like that, then you just go to a longer distance that no one cares about the actual time. It's just about completing the event. So that's my hot take. Again, not for your professionals out there, but I've thought this for a while and no one's ever proven me wrong. And when they get really serious about answering that, if they're an ultra marathoner, they all tend to agree. So I'll stand by it.
Okay, so basically, Travis's hot take is ultra marathons are for slower runners.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's for people who don't care about time anymore. They're only
okay.
There are competers and there are completers in races, and both are good. You got to understand which one you are. I care about competing. Ultra marathoners in general care about completing.
Mic drop. That was a good line. That was good. Okay, well, thanks for being in the hot seat, Travis. Now, before we dive into our article, we have a viral video of the week. Now, I sent it to your phone, and he hasn't seen this before, so he's going to watch it, and then for our listeners, I will plug it in as well. This is not 100% about running, but it's sports adjacent. Travis loves basketball too, so this is about basketball. Roll the clip.
This might be a hot take, but I think they should be hitting 100% of free throws. You're a professional athlete. You've been playing this game your whole life. You have the same thing every single time. It's predictable that you can get points. Like, why isn't everybody just good at them? Why don't they practice?
So that has so many views, over 300,000 likes too.
I think it's a really good take.
Okay.
And a lot of really great shooters shoot a very high percentage. So you've got your Steph Currys and others that are shooting 90+% on their free throws. And I've always felt like even at the college level, if you are a ball handler, smaller player, now a center, someone who's got massive hands and just isn't used to shooting with that form quite as well, then I can understand to a degree. Like Shaq. Shaq is like the person who they would foul to put him on the free throw line because it was
Mm.
easier than letting him dunk on you in a game. Totally get why. Like his hands go around the ball. They're so huge. He's 7'2". So you can understand a little bit more on those players. But in the end, you're still a professional, right? Like
Exactly.
make the shot. No one is
Exactly.
guarding you. You're only so many feet away. I think it's a fine take to do on that. And if you're a guard and you're shooting a low percentage, shame on you. That's
Shame
what I
on
say.
you.
I mean, I would shoot 80% today, and I haven't picked up a ball in a year. So no problem.
Okay, we might have to test that. All right. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about an article out of Runner's World called or about toxic positivity. Got it right the second time. So, we're going to talk about what it is, how to spot it, and why real encouragement doesn't always come with a smiley face emoji. Now, Travis actually saw this article in a magazine, but you actually found this and shot it over to me and was like, oh, we have to talk about this on the pod. So, here we go.
Yep, it's one of the most honest pieces that I've read in a while. It was called How Toxic Positivity Aggravated One of My Worst Experiences. And it's all about what happens when a race goes completely sideways and how we respond to that disappointment, especially in the running community.
Yeah, the writer shares her story about running in the 2024 New Balance Fifth Avenue Mile in New York. She was training extremely hard, had very high expectations of herself, and then everything unraveled. She blew up in the race early. She couldn't hold her pace, and she ended up slowing down. And what triggered a flood of emotions, embarrassment, frustration, in that what just happened feeling.
Yeah, she opened up about how disappointed she was and, her responses that she got from people like her coach was, "But you did great," which, yeah, is kind, but it does miss, what had happened in the race and doesn't take in what the original expectations were on that.
Yeah, so how many times have we heard, you should be proud? Well, at least you finished. Whew, that one's a dagger. It was still a great effort. And you're standing there thinking, well, that's not how it felt. I trained hours and days and months and weeks for this, and I blew it up.
The one line that really hit me, I'll read it here. It says, "I was hurting and I needed someone to say, yeah, that really sucked." So sometimes the most healing thing isn't encouragement, it's empathy.
Yeah, so that actually reminds me of Faith, who wanted to break the 4-minute mile as a female, which is crazy unheard of. So she is a world-class athlete. She's one of the best runners, female runners ever,
Yeah,
I would say.
she would be on the Mount Rushmore of women's runners of all time at any distance, in my opinion. She's multiple-time Olympic and world champion and been great from her youth, really, from her teenage years, if I remember correctly. So Faith
Yeah.
Kipyegon, who we're talking about here.
Yep. And so the 4-minute mile is a mythical time for this. And it was a huge deal. It was aired live on TV. She really wanted to hit that 4-minute mile, and she didn't. She came in at 4:06, so just 6 seconds off of her goal. Now, here is the kicker. She still broke the world record. I mean, no female has ever done that before. So she broke the world record, but she didn't hit her goal.
Yeah, and I think the 4-minute mile is such a big deal because um, in some people's lifetime that are still alive today, it was broken for the first time. Roger Bannister being the first one that ever broke the 4-minute mile. Now people are running way faster than that. But it was like this thing at one point in time that people thought men couldn't break the 4-minute mile. So it's a nice round number and all that. I think most people in the runner's world would say that Faith going from 4:07 something, where the world record was that she held, to 4 minutes was going to be a monumental jump because of the breaking 3 and the marathon thing that Nike did with Elliot Kipchoge.
Oh, yeah.
I think this one breaking 4, it's got a nice ring to it. Here's one thing, and I know we weren't necessarily going to talk about this, but there's some technology enhancements that are going to come from this project that'll be long running. I understand that there's a new women's racing shoe that's coming out of it from Nike. There's new enhancements to apparel that's coming out of it. And they did a lot of testing even on sports bras, and how they said that the sports bra technology, or the way that it's been done, hasn't been changed for decades. And so maybe through this, they can have a better situation for women moving forward. So I think there's a lot of positivity that's going to come out of this. It's just, man, that's a lot of time to drop in a single race. She was disappointed though. I mean,
Yeah.
she went for it. She had pacers. She gave it her all to kind of go for it.
And
So,
you could see on her face just the pure disappointment. And when she was asked after the race if she would try again, she said, probably not this year, probably next year. It might take another 5 to 10 years to break the 4-minute barrier, but I can see it going down a second every year.
I think it's a wise take on it, because these things are going to happen incrementally. To have that big of a jump in time would you would even look at it and go, all right, what else happened? Like, what? That's too much of a jump. So I actually think this shows a really great thing where she was able to lower the time from where it was. And I think it'll only continue to, as technology changes, as the way we train continues to get better, and as new people come up in the sport. It may not be faith, but as new people come up in the sport and try to go for this, I think it'll go down in time for sure.
Oh, 100%. And what I love about her and this article, relating it back to the article, is that she didn't dismiss her own disappointment. She felt those feelings. She felt the disappointment. But I mean, she held space for both. Incredible achievement, but also unfinished business at the end of the day. And honestly, that's something that all of us, whether we're chasing a Boston qualifying time or just trying to finish a 5K, we can learn from.
Yep. So taking it back to toxic positivity, that is the pressure to always stay upbeat, to slap a smile on after every setback, to immediately find the silver lining. And even when you're still standing there at the finish line and you go, what just happened? To me, that's where this toxic positivity comes in a lot of different times. What do you think?
Yeah, and that mindset, while it seems kind, it could be very dismissive to that person who has been working so hard for so many hours towards this goal. Because when we skip past people's pain, we shut down the part of them that needs healing.
Yep. So how do we deal with race day letdowns in a healthy way? Here are a few things that the article kind of talked about. 1, acknowledge your feelings. It's okay to feel disappointment. That doesn't make you weak. It just makes you human. 2, reflect honestly. When the emotion settles, ask yourself what really happened, learn from it, and don't be rushed to this lesson. I've had a coach that tells me after a tough race, feel the feels. That's what he's talking about. Let it sink in. Let's understand. I've also had other coaches say, you're either winning or you're learning. You're not losing. You're learning from the experience. And I think that's what you're going for here. The third way to kind of deal with this would be to seek the right support. Talk to people who listen first, not just try to fix it. Find the ones who say, yeah, that stung, but I've been there.
So didn't Clayton Young's wife do a really good job of this at a recent race?
Absolutely. And you and I have talked about this in the past. Earlier this year, Clayton was working towards, I believe it was the Boston Marathon. Yeah, he ran the Boston Marathon this spring in April. And in the buildup of that, he ran the half marathon national championships. And there's a video series that he puts out on his YouTube that does a great job of kind of showing his way weekly through this training cycle. I love to watch it because you can kind of see the ins and outs of a professional runner and how they deal with training. And he had high hopes for these half marathon championships. Thought he's in great shape. Thought he's really going to be able to mix it up. This is an Olympian for us. He finished 9th in the Olympic marathon this past year in France. And so he had great hopes of doing really well in this half marathon championships. And he just didn't have the day that he expected. And so they cut over to him with his wife. and his wife is just there with him. She's not saying anything. She's just present with him after the race. He's still kind of in the finishing chute there, and he's disappointed and he can't believe he's trying to figure out what happened. But she's not going, "You did great, baby," anything like that. She's just there and present with him. And I think a lot of times that's what we need as runners when we have a hard time.
And not even just in running too, and in general life when something bad happens. And I can relate this back to Jeremiah, our son, our 12-year-old son plays football. He had a really bad game this past season, and I was trying to say, "Oh, but you did this good and you did this good." But he didn't need that. He needed me to say, "Yeah, you know what? That was not your best game," or just not say anything at all. So
Yeah, I've got one more note here before we move on. The other thing is, I think it's on us, the runners, to set the expectations of the people around us. So I think sometimes it's a knowledge gap in those people around. They don't know what to say because they don't have the expectations from us, the runner. So I'll give you an example. Last fall, I was training for the Houston Marathon. I was in great shape, and 4 weeks out, I got hurt. I got the stress fracture that I mentioned earlier. And so I ended up having to take 4 weeks off leading into the race. And I got it to a place where it was good enough that I felt like I could run the marathon. And so instead of the great race that I wanted to have, I just didn't have the fitness. Those 4 weeks off just had an impact on how well I could run the race. Of course it did. Now, I didn't want to admit that going into the race, but of course it did, right? And so when I talked with people, I led with it was the 4 weeks off, yes, but in the race itself, I just couldn't hold the pace. Like I tried, I did everything I could. My heart rate spiked and I couldn't do anything else about it. And I got everything out of myself that day. I could not have run any faster. I still ran a PR, in fact, but it was 13 minutes off of what my original goal pace would have been in that race. But I led with it. And so people could respond with that with an appropriate answer, not a, "Hey, you just finished another marathon. Great job," which I didn't really want to hear in the moment.
Thank you for sharing that, Travis. That's great. Coach Dean, our national run coach, also has something to say about toxic positivity. Here's what he has to say. Have you ever had a bad race or a bad workout and beat yourself up for a week afterward? Of course you have. We all have. But the truth is, failure is okay. Look at any other sport. In baseball, a player fails to get a hit 2/3 of the time and still ends up in the Hall of Fame. There's imperfection in every sport. Running is no different.
Yeah. Hit 300 in baseball today, and you're one of the best players out there. So no doubt, baseball, this is a great example.
And then he goes on to say, the magical question is, did we learn from our mistakes? After running thousands of races, I've learned that sometimes when I miss a goal, it's my own fault. But sometimes I can't explain it, and that's okay too. The unpredictable nature of racing is part of what makes it fun. Being able to move on after a poor performance is essential. The good races are sweeter because of the tough ones.
And in classic Dean fashion, he ties it back to something even deeper. Here's how he says that. He says, setbacks always take me towards Jesus, and that is always a good thing. We fail God all the time, and he forgives us. If he can forgive us for things much more critical, surely we can forgive ourselves for something as minor as a bad race.
Good word. Good word. Thank you. Okay, it is time to wrap. But before we go, Travis, tell me what you are working on in running this week.
I'm working towards a fall marathon. I think I'm 16 weeks out at this point, really just in base building, mileage building, introducing some workouts this far out to try to get in shape. So that's where I'm at right now. How about you?
Yeah, I am doing the same, except I think I am 17 or 18 weeks out from a half marathon in October, towards the end of October. So I just started the upward running maintenance plan, 40 miles a week. Yesterday, I had 5 miles with some speed work. Today, I've got 5 easy miles, and I'm looking forward to a nice and easy run in the heat this afternoon.
That's great. Yeah. We should see how this goes. And I think it'd be great to take people on the journey as to how our racing season goes this fall.
Yeah, I'm excited to see in October what happens. But that is an official closing to the second ever episode of Kinda Fast. So thank you guys for tuning in. Before we go, just remember that the journey is more than miles. God is in every step. The good runs, the tough days, the quiet moments, it all matters to him. Whether you're chasing a goal or simply just showing up again, you are not running alone. He's with you, he's for you, and he's using this season to grow something deeper in you.
At Upward Running, this is where faith and fitness meet, and we'd love to run with you. Join us at upwardrunning.com/kindofast. Use the code KINDOFAST for 2 weeks free. That's upwardrunning.com/kindofast with the code KINDOFAST. And until next time, keep showing up, keep running your race, the one God marked out just for you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
See ya.
See ya.